now the first speaker on dynamics, Professor Claude Bottin, please.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Hello, everybody. So today I would like to speak about behavior of the third kind in dynamics, and I would like to speak about high frequency modulation and to introduce this idea in terms of in comparison to classical techniques that are block waves or homogenization. So this work has been developed with two colleagues, Antoine Ralu and Stéphane Hans at ENTPE. Yes, so we know that in elastodynamics, in periodic media, we have classical methods, the standard homogenization or Floquet-Bloch waves. So here the difference are that this is an asymptotic description that consider only low frequency in terms that we are below the diffraction frequency, so we consider long wavelengths and we obtain macro models. If we consider Floquet-Bloch waves, this is an exact description that has no restriction in frequency, and so it applies to short waves, but we obtain let's say a micro model. We don't know if there is large scale possibility in this description. And what I want to investigate in the situation of modulation, so it's in between this, so it is asymptotic description, but not at zero frequency, it's around some finite frequency, and we will have some possibility to describe large variation, but at high frequency. And in terms of third kind of behavior, we will see if there is some link between macro modeling and generalized continua. So just to have an idea of what we speak, in the standard homogenization you have the scale and you have long wavelengths. Floquet-Bloch wave you have fast oscillating, and what we are looking for, if inside this fast oscillation we can describe some large scale evolution. In terms of works, so we will use homogenization and especially the development done by Kairi in discrete approach. In Floquet-Bloch wave you have classical works here, and in modulation the first paper I think was developed by Daya and Potier-Ferry in 2002. There is other publication, and now there is a lot of people working on this since the paper with the Craster, Kaplunov and Pichugin. So my presentation, first to introduce this idea, I will present some links between the different approach, and we will see then two specific cases, one which is rather simple to understand and then more complicated. So let's begin with the links. So just here, I will not go into the detail in transparency, but just to say that the Floquet-Bloch waves, if you consider yes, I have to say something. The Floquet-Bloch waves, you know, you have the classical, it's explained in 1D, the classical elastodynamic operator with a periodic coefficient. Here assume that the density is constant, but it's just convenient. And if you look at the solution using Bloch waves, you introduce a wave number, k, and you look at the solution of U in terms of a function that depends on the wave number, like that, and a periodic function here. So doing that, you have a shift function here that's changed in space, and because phi is periodic, this parameter can be limited in this zone here, and when you introduce this solution, this formulation inside this operator, you obtain what we call the shift operator, that is A k, because there is related to the wave number that takes this form here, and finally this means that the shift in the space is transported in terms of inside the differential operator with this parameter here. And what is important for Floquet-Bloch wave is that it can be seen that this operator is auto-adjoint, so it have a spectral resolution. So this means that for each k you have a series of eigenvalence frequency that depend of scale, so this gives you the dispersion relation, and for each frequency you have the Bloch modes that is related to this periodic function, and the Bloch wave that is related to this function here. Okay? So this is the framework of Floquet-Bloch wave. So here I will just say that the Floquet block wave, it can be shown that it's directly can be it gives the result of homogenization when you consider long wavelengths and low frequency. So you can expand, you can make the expansion. You can introduce a small parameter here, and doing so, you show that the result of the Floquet block wave is exactly the same that the result of homogenization. And the idea is that the shift function, if we are at long wavelengths, correspond to the large-scale evolution that is introduced with a two-scale formulation of homogenization. Okay? So this is an important point. And the second point, that is not less classical, is that we can make identification of block wave with some specific eigenmodes of the cell. And for that, we consider the block waves with this parameter that I introduce a given frequency. So you have this expression of the block wave like that, and I just change the expression of the wave number to introduce the coefficient beta that is now in between 0 and 1. So what is nice is that if you consider that the coefficient beta is equal to 0, this means that you don't have phase shift between the beginning of the cell and the end of the cell. So this means that the block wave for beta equals 0 is exactly the eigenmodes of the cell. Okay? So when you consider the beta equals 0, you will recover exactly the eigenmode and the eigenfrequency of the irreducible cells. Now if you consider a case when beta is 1 over 2. So this means that if you consider one cell, so from this beginning to the end, you have a phase shift of p. So if you go to the next cell, you again recover the periodic condition. So this means that when you consider beta 1 over 2, this means that the block, the block wave will correspond to the eigenmodes not of the irreducible period, but of the second of the two periods together. Okay. So and if you consider a rational wave number, this will give you the block wave will give you the eigenmodes of and the frequency of the P cell altogether, one of the two together. Okay, so inside the information of block waves, we are already the information of the eigenmodes of the different cell 1, 2, 3, and so on. So now we have the element to begin for modulation. So we know that long wave lengths at low frequency correspond to gives the same result of homogenization, and the idea is that the large scale variation that we introduce are the fluctuation of the static block modes. But now we use this idea to extend it to high frequency. A large scale at high frequency, we consider either one cell or a multiple cell, and the periodic mode is block waves, which constant amplitude. So this means that at this frequency, corresponding to this eigenmode, the amplitude is constant. So this means that the amplitude do not fluctuate. So in terms of large scale fluctuation, this means that this fluctuation is infinite. The large scale is infinite. So now if instead to consider exactly this frequency, but we make a perturbation of this frequency, so the fluctuation will not be, the amplitude will not be constant, but fluctuate. And since at this eigenfrequency is infinite, at perturbation of this frequency, it will fluctuate at large scale. So this is the trick that we use to derive the modulation. So the idea is this one. So we make a small phase shift according to the we consider a cell or a multi-cell. We make a small phase shift between one point and the end, and then since without phase shift it will be uniform amplitude of the mode. With a small phase shift it will be a fluctuation of the amplitude at large scale. And we hope to obtain the envelope of the evolution. So now, to make this idea more clear, we consider two systems. One, it's just academic to understand how it works. So we consider this is well known. This is analytical. So the point is that the springs are without mass. The mass are completely stiff. So this means that if you consider the cell here, you don't have internal mode in the cell, so there is a limit pass band. And then we consider another case that is more interesting because it is a continuous framed beam. It will be also analytical, but what is nice is that the kinematic is more rich because you don't have this restriction of mass less than the concentrated mass, and we have internal mode. No, it's okay. Well, okay, we have internal mode in the cell, so it's more rich to explore this case. So let's begin with the first one. Thank you. So the first one, if we consider mass, spring, and so on, if we express the balance of the mass here, we have, it's very easy to derive the recursive balance equation of the cell, that is in this form here, where V is the displacement on each mass here, and you recover here the inertia. So if we apply the block wave, we just look at the dispersion equation by looking in that the motion is with phase shift with the previous motion here, with the coefficient k. So we report that in this equation, and we directly derive the dispersion equation. That is a very classical one, and you have this form that according to the phase shift, you go to 0 to p, and you have this form here. So this is the result. Everything is known here. Now, what we want is to consider the same situation, but we make a multi-cell analysis. So it is. So we have here P cell all together, and we just consider the displacement at the beginning of the P cell at the next P cell here, Vn maison Vn. Okay. So it's not complicated. It's a little tricky, but not too many complicated to see that we have a same kind of recursive balance equation when you consider only this motion here. And except that here the inertia terms takes a more complicated form that is given here, and what we just say to this form that depends on the frequency is that this function is 0 at all this frequency that correspond to the eigenmode of the multicell, and this eigenfrequency correspond to the rational wave number. So this means that if you consider that you have at each step, let's make like that. If you have a cell that is like that, okay. At each cell you go from 1 to so. And here you again, so you have exact periodicity condition here, and this apply if you consider like that, but you can make 2, and then you have other 2 ones and so on. Okay. So this means that we have here so this function vanishes at the eigenfrequency. It corresponds to the rational wave number, as I explained before. And just a point that I would like to point out is that the omega q over p corresponds to double eigenmode, because as you can see here, there is a square that appears here, but the extreme frequency here is without square, so it's a simple eigenmode. So I don't go further in the details, but I will now use this result to make the asymptotic approach. And so this is a classical approach. We introduce the scale parameter that relates the length of the multicell to the macro scale. Now the difference is that we will make an expansion close to this eigenfrequency. So we are not at 0 frequency, we are at the eigenfrequency of the multicell. We introduce a continuous variable such that on each point of this cell here you can have a continuous representation on each point. And we assume the scale separation for this function here. So this means that from one point to another one, there is a small variation. So this is a classical assumption according to large scale. This enables to make a Taylor expansion of this function here, and for instance, the terms that appears in the recursive equation is directly related to the second derivative of this function. So doing that, we introduce classically the asymptotic expansion of this function V, and also the asymptotic expansion of the frequency here. Since what we want is to make an approximation close to this frequency, so that's why we expand the frequency. So when we do that, we obtain several equations according to the choice of eigenfrequency. So at low frequency, what we recover is exactly the homogenization approach, and it applies whatever is the period that you consider. So either the irreductible period or a p-cell. But now, if we consider frequency close to to eigenmodes, then the result of homogenization is directly this one, and you can see that the results, it depends of the frequency where you are considering around which you are making the expansion, because here it appears here, and so this means that you don't have only one model, but you have as many as model as you consider the eigenfrequency. Okay, but they are explicit. And when you go to the frequency that are close to the simple eigenmode, you obtain another result that it takes this from here, and you see that the dependence of the frequency is just the same than this one, and it's close to what happens in guided waves. So to have maybe it helps to understand what happens. You have an illustration for the spring mass chain. We consider a 30 mass, okay? And we have this structure, and we calculate the eigenmode of the whole structure now, for the whole structure. So this is completely explicit also. And you have 30 modes, because there is 30 mass, and the eigenfrequency of these modes are given here. And the shape of all these modes is described here. And since when this eigenfrequency of the whole structures is close to an eigenfrequency of one cell or a multi-cell, then in this case we'll be in the situation of modulation. And that is exactly what you can see here. For example, if I consider the 13 modes, you see that the oscillation is the mode that is plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, with a fluctuation that is a large scale, that is the modulation of this mode. And this is that is the second, third, and so on. But you have also the same observation for this mode close to, that involves 3 cells, 4 cells, 5 cells, and so on. And obviously here you have the situation with a unique cell. So now we know that we can have some hope to obtain a macroscopic description even at high frequency, because this is a classical homogenization description. This is not the classical one. This is only the modulation description. So now we go to the case of framed beam. And the situation is more interesting, because in this case the kinematics is much more rich. And first I will describe the framed beam. So this is a global beam. The two elements are, this is a beam, this is another beam. Since this is our beam elements, so we know exactly the dynamic behavior. So I don't go into the details. I just say that the kinematic variables can be related to the force and momentum variables on the extremity by the way of transfer matrix. I don't give the expression, but fully analytical, and it depends of the bending stiffness, the compression stiffness, and the frequency, obviously. Okay. The second point is that since the beam is symmetric, we can split the variables in terms of transversal and longitudinal variables, and we will have two different behavior in compression and transverse. So here what we will study is the case of transverse behavior. So the kinematic variables are the deflection, the mean rotation, and the rotation of the nodes. Okay? So now we have the description of we can express the recursive balance equation according to one cell. So we just say that the balance of the vertical force, of the horizontal force, and of the momentum is valid on each node. And since we consider the transverse balance, we focus on this case, we obtain a relation that is a matricial relation that relates the variables, the kinematic variables on this one cell, the next cell, and the next cell through some matrix that are frequency dependent, related to the property of the two beams of the cell, and just to say that some of them are diagonals, this one is antisymmetric and the other one is symmetric. So now we have exactly the situation for the spring, but except that the recursive equation is a little bit more complicated, okay? But the point is the same. So we can do first, from this relation, we can extract the dispersion equation. So for that, and the eigenmode. For that, we just say, like in Floquet block, okay, the motion at the next cell is with a fast shift according to the previous one. So we introduce this relation in the recursive equation, and we just obtain an equation like that, because where this matrix is now depending of k. And this is only possible if the determinant of this matrix is equal to 0, and this gives you the dispersion equation for the system. Okay? And also what is important is you can speak about polarization or generalized polarization. This is given by the eigenvector of this of the matrix D when the dispersion equation is validated. The second point is that we can also extract the transverse, the eigenmodes. It's just to say that we introduce a rational wave number, and the eigenfrequency associated to that will state that for this rational wave number, the frequency that when it shows the determinant corresponds to the eigenfrequency. So we have both information here. So now we have the recursive equation. So we can make the modulation analysis. We make exactly the same trick that in the spring mass. So we make expansion of the kinematic variables. So this is now a vector with three variables. We make the expansion of the frequency around the eigenfrequency here, and here the difference according to the compared to the spring mass is that we have to scale the parameter of the different matrix, and we consider slender elements. So in this case the bending stiffness is much smaller by epsilon 2 compared to the compression stiffness. Okay, and we apply that to the recursive equation. And as previously, we consider the application to one cell, two cell, and three cell. So you told me if I'm too late. So let's consider the case of the modulation based on the irreducible cell. So I recall here the recursive equation. So this is the forces, and this is the kinematic variables. So you have three variables in terms of force. So the eigenmodes, I just explained previously that the eigenmode for the irreducible cell is such that the periodicity condition is respected on each cell. So we just say that each variable are the same. So you directly extract the eigenmodes and eigenfrequency. Now we are looking for what happens close to the eigenfrequency, so we begin the expansion, the asymptotic process, and it appears that when you make that in this equation, according to the scaling in bending and compression, it appears that at the Ligging order you just have a scalar equation that corresponds to the balance of the shear forces, and you see that there is three possible cases. Either this term is equal to 0, this means that we are at low frequency. Either this term is equal to 0, this means that we are considering the eigenmodes of the irreducible cell. Or this term is equal to 0, so this means that we introduce a specific kinematic through the translation that corresponds to gyration. So here I don't give the asymptotic process, I just give the results. So at the low frequency, what we recover, it's a classical result to have a Timoshenko beam, with everything can be expressed in terms of classical force as momentum. You have the balance of the three force, the shear force, the inner couple, and the bending, the global couple. You have the constitutive equation that depends of the characteristics of the beam, so everything is clear. Now, this is what happens at low frequency, but we can also derive what happens at higher frequency. And when we do that, so we consider the one eigenfrequency of this basic cell, and that is omega n, and the result is given here. And what is interesting is that it's very close to it's a Timoshenko beam of the third kind. It's very close to the Timoshenko beam in terms of structure of the equation, except that every parameter now that appears are now tilde, so this means that they are frequency dependent. Okay, so all these parameters are no more the mass, the stiffness, etc. They are all frequency dependent. So this means that you cannot separate. It is quite obvious now, but you cannot separate the effect of elasticity and the effect of mass. All appear together. The inertia is not classical. It exists from here. That correspond to something like guided waves, and notice that V is no more the displacement of the nodes; it's just the amplitude of the nodes. So I will give you the. Oh, okay, next. So here, this is a direct illustration. So we consider a beam with again a 30 cell, okay, and we derive the eigenmode as previously with a string mass. So the Timoshenko beam gives you the eigenmodes of this structure that is clumped. You have the different frequency here, and you have the classical shape that is given by the classical homogenization, and this corresponds to the periodic quasi-static mode of the cell. But if we consider, if we now you look at the eigenmodes close to the periodic mode of this cell, the mono cell, so you see that you obtain some deformation that is calculated independently that show large scale variation, even if we are in very high frequency, that is 200 times compared to this one, and you see that close you have the different modulation of the pseudo Timoshenko beam. Okay, and if you go to the second mode of this cell, so you have this shape here, you investigate the eigenmodes of the structure, and you get close to this eigenfrequency. Also, this modulation representation that gives you the deformation of the beam at high frequency. And the homogenized result is to say that inside this very, very fast oscillating motion, you have a possibility of large evolution of the system. Oh, sorry. So also, I will. The third option was that there is a specific kinematic without translation deflection. So this gives you another mode that is a gyration mode, and that it can be shown that it only appears at high frequency. We'll come back that later. So this is one category of model that is based on the modulation of the eigenmodes of the basic cell. But we can make the same by considering the eigenmodes of the two cells together. Okay? In classical homogenization, you don't need that, because if you make the calculation of one cell or two cells, you will get the same result. But if we consider eigenmodes, obviously the eigenmodes of two cells are more rich than the eigenmodes of one cell. Okay? So we come back to the basic equation. Now we look at the eigenmodes of the two cells. So this means that now we have phase shift of P. So it's not too complicated to obtain the eigenmode of this. And we make the asymptotic process. So I don't give the details, but what we obtain is this macroscopic description. And again, we have a new description that is completely different from the Timoshenko beam. This looks like a shear beam, but all the parameters again are frequency dependent, and the equation is now of the second order, and we also obtain that numerically if we look at the same beam, but now at the first eigenmode of the two cell or the second eigenmode of the second cell, we obtain this kind of result. So you see a large modulation that appears, and that is the description that we obtain is the description of this modulation here, or the description of the large scale evolution here. So I will go. I don't know if you have time. No, maybe not. So for the we can do it for the 3 cell. Okay. For the 3 cell we can do it, and I just would like to say that the result is rather different, because this is in 3 cell we obtain double eigenmodes. And what happens when you make a modulation of a simple mode is that the energy of one mode, since we are not exactly at the eigenfrequency, what is missed is transferred to the mode that are at other frequency. But if you consider double modes, the energy is split from one mode to other, but at the same frequency. So the change in frequency, the behavior in frequency is different, because the energy is easily transferred from one mode to another mode if you are double eigenmode. So okay. No, this is not this point. So okay, we have this result. So finally, we can obtain the result that we obtain can be summarized here in this graphic according to dispersion equation. So that is the result that we get for the unique cell, for the 2 cell, for the 3 cell, and we can identify each part of the partially dispersion equation. And if we, as I said previously, we can identify the dispersion equation directly. So we see that this is really a tangent model that you observe. And also we can derive the polarization. The point that I would like to say at the end is that if we would like to obtain a macroscopic model that is unable to encompass, for instance, the description according to this, several remarks have to be done. Is that first, you can see the kinematic variables that you obtain for the 0 cell is not the same that what you obtain in the other one. So if you want to have a description, macroscopic description that encompass all these curves, the kinematic variables will not be the same in this frequency, in this frequency, in this frequency. Okay, so this means that maybe you have a global description that take care that the kinematic variables do not have the same sense, and the sense apparently is let's say the projection of the actual kinematics on the corresponding eigenmodes, block modes. Okay, and the second point is that what is nice also, it's for a given frequencies the model are always the same structures. This is the same structure of model, so Timoshenko, but always more or less, because here you have the Girachien mode that appears here. Okay, and last point that I would like to say is that many people look at the dispersion equation, but do not take care more or less about what is the polarization. But indeed, this is the dispersion equation is only one part of the information, and the polarization is also required to know about what we are speaking. Okay. So thank you for your attention and your patience.
Questions? I have a question.
Yeah.
When you are talking about that you're in the second, let's say, approximation, the second step, your coefficients depends on frequency.
Yes.
It looks like some kind of dynamic material or, let's say, viscoelastic materials after Fourier transformations. So it's some kind of internal dissipation.
Yeah, there is no dissipation.
I know that there is no,
but I'm not sure, because in dissipation you will have imaginary part. Here everything is real. It's positive or negative. So you can have inner resonance phenomena, all these things. But I'm not sure that there is dissipation. So maybe I'm not sure.
For example, if I imagine such situation, you have some microbeams inside.
Yes.
They oscillate, and
Yes.
you have some resonance interrelated to these beams. It looks like the energy concentrated in this.
Yes,
and from
okay.
microscopic point of view, it looks like that your macro beam, large beam, losing the energy just which is concentrated on some places.
Okay, I agree with you that you can concentrate the energy in some specific plate. This is yes. And maybe it can be seen as viscoelastic, but the identification of viscoelastic coefficient, I don't know. For instance, it will be the same in bending or shear.
More questions, comments?
Okay.
Okay, if not the case, thank you again.